work that he's done, and he certainly has a lot of challenges on his plate. He really does, but I know he's up to the task. I think you're going to enjoy listening to Larry, who, by the way, sits next to Joe McHugh in Washington, D.C. And so you're just seeing a different background than you saw yesterday. They just sat facing different directions. But Larry, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ray. I just wanted to share with you some of the things that we're doing. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. I'll just start with just a brief overview of, in case some of you are not real familiar with Amtrak. I know many of you are, but we're entering our 50th year as a company. We served last year over 32 million customers across our network, nearly 20,000 employees, and operating lots of trains and serving over 500 destinations. And I just wanted to provide this overview of sort of how we look at the world, these three business lines. Joe McHugh, who spoke yesterday, leads our state-supported service line, and we have relationships with I think 17 different states and operating that network. Over 5 of those routes had several miles in length. Some of them crossing significantly longer than that, with several of our trains with 3 2-night overnight trains, so very long journeys, and about 4.5 million of Amtrak's customers last year. And then sort of the crown jewel of Amtrak, the Northeast Corridor, is where we are most well-known and most high-frequency service. And of course, our Acela product is there, and you may know we are on the cusp of receiving all new train sets and refreshing the equipment on the Acela service beginning next year, which is a monumental change and something we're really excited about. Okay, let me just take you through a few of the things that we're doing. Next slide, please. So some of this is just how we've positioned ourselves in talking about this new standard of travel, and not only taking actions, but also communicating to the market and to our customers about what we're doing in the realm of safety and cleaning. And, this is, of course, all kinds of businesses, and not only travel, but throughout the economy are doing things related to this. But we have some of our own unique issues and opportunities and challenges that we're, I'll talk through a number of these things that we're doing. And the one other thing, of course, we've been very flexible with customers in terms of ticket policies and allowing changes to be made, recognizing that everyone's dealing with a lot of uncertainty in this environment. So just at a high level, we've been focused on safety and cleaning measures, taking our guidance directly from the Centers of Disease Control recommendations and assuring that we're aligning with that. We have the benefit in our organization, we actually have a full-time medical director on our staff, Dr. Ann Coonan, who has really been invaluable in this environment as our leader in making sure we're doing the right things for public health and for the safety and health of our employees and customers. She's been a public face for us in some ways in terms of communicating some of the things we're doing as well. And again, a lot of policies, both customer and employee policies about protection and trying to limit contact and make sure that the Amtrak experience is safe during this unique time and pandemic for us. So the first category is things that we're doing to promote physical distancing on board trains. Also true in stations, but most important on trains, where we are limiting bookings to allow for physical distancing on board the train. And really, because our seating is in all cases at most 2 by 2 or two seats together, and we're assuring that customers will always have the opportunity to sit alone and have the seat next to them vacant or available for their own belongings. And unless they're traveling as part of their party and people choose to sit together, that no one is required to sit directly adjacent to other travelers. And the image on the right, we'll talk a little more later about our private rooms product, but that's of course been a great advantage in this environment for people who really want the benefit of that. I'll share more about that in a bit. With regard to safe from the standpoint of the environment on the train, the two important issues, of course, are face coverings, and I think everyone understands how important that is these days. But that is our firm policy on board and in stations, that the only time that the customers can remove masks is when they are eating or drinking, or of course if they're in the private space in the private rooms that we have. And importantly, we've been focusing on communicating what the advantages are on board our trains of how air is moved through and filtered and refreshed in our cabin at a very continuous rate. And it's, I think that's reassuring for people to know that, and of course, our cabins are not sealed. The doors are open to the outdoors frequently, and so fresh air is coming in, but also the heating and ventilation systems are geared toward exchanging air throughout the full cabin every 4 to 5 minutes. From a limiting points of contact, we've been investing in some of our technology and really deploying a few things recently that we're happy with, including giving more notification to customers about their boarding and track information, and even at our largest stations, starting to deploy a process for zone boarding. Which is just to say to stagger so that people don't have to queue up. What we've historically done at a lot of the bigger stations is that customers would queue up in a line, and of course they'd be very close to each other waiting to board. And what we're doing now is trying to let people remain more spread out in the station area until it's their turn to board, and then just boarding smaller groups of people at a time. And of course, we're encouraging people to use our Amtrak app, which facilitates a lot of this stuff, especially even the boarding pass that can just be scanned by our conductor. We've also just recently launched reserved seating on our full Acela class. We first did this in our Acela trains have 2 classes, a first class, and the remainder of the train is called Acela business class. And now in both cases, originally we rolled this out just in first class, but we now have reserved seating and allow customers not only, our system assigns a seat to a customer, but then the customer has the ability to go and change their seat assignment, but we're making it clear that we're only assigning 1 seat in each row. This says soon we'll be adding train capacity indicator. If you go look out on Amtrak.com now, you'll see we've actually just recently deployed. On the right here, you can see this little image where we are sharing with customers information about how how full the train that trains that they're looking at and considering for their travel are, and acknowledging this physical distancing, that we're making sure that trains are not close to full. Next slide, please. And the last important thing in the realm of safety and health is all the cleaning protocols that we put in place, both on board trains and in stations. Again, following the best advice and guidelines on cleaning and sanitizing, both en route and on heavy overnight cleans of our trains and throughout the areas in our stations where customers have contact. And you'll also see we've installed protective plastic barriers. Some of that is still underway, but we've been installing barriers on our cafe cars, and also installing hand sanitizer dispensers. So all these kinds of things that are oriented toward making sure that people, that we're keeping the environment as clean and safe as possible. So the last two items I'll share with you and finish up here. These are both related specifically to our long distance product, so I'm proud of them. But we have private rooms in our sleeping cars, which are only on our long distance services, the 15 trains throughout the network. We have several different room types, but two primary rooms, what we call a bedroom and what we call a roomette. But they both allow two people to travel and have a door that closes, and people can choose to be served their meals in their private room as well while they're traveling. And of course, applying the same cleaning protocols to the room spaces as well. But being able to offer this product in this environment has been something that has been well received, and people who may not have considered traveling this way before are finding it to be useful. And we're actually our room products have been selling better than our overall product, and the long distance business has been performing better than the rest of our network, but still, of course, demand across all of Amtrak is at about 20% of our normal demand right now. So things are awfully, challenging, of course, still. We've been promoting these private rooms, and we're actually, there's a promotion in place this week. So if you were planning to travel between now and the end of September, you can get a companion to come along with you for free when you book a private room for one individual. So there's my little plug. And finally, last slide, please. Onboard dining. We have cafe cars throughout the Amtrak network on various trains, and there's some actions that we've taken there. As I mentioned, the installation of these protective barriers. And also in cafe cars where there is seating areas, we've closed those seating areas so that the cafe car is only for carry-out service. But then on our long distance trains, we have dining cars where we actually, have offered, opportunity for customers to sit down and be served. And in our western routes and on our auto train, we serve what we call traditional dining, which is tableside service. Presented more restaurant style. That's our normal product. In this environment, we have suspended that traditional dining in the interest of providing safety and making sure that we keep our customers and employees safe, and just couldn't deliver that kind of a product reliably. So we have as an alternative what we call flexible dining, which are pre-prepared meals. They're heated and served to customers, and they're tasty, and they're what we serve on many of our other trains in the east part of the country, on our single night overnight trains. But that has been well received, and it also facilitates more customers being able to dine in their private rooms, which many people are taking up that opportunity, those who are traveling with us. And of course, we would normally allow communal dining, which is people sharing tables and meeting other travelers. And in this environment, that practice has been set aside. And when people are choosing to dine in the dining cars, we are spacing out and socially distancing by using only every other table if people choose to use that space. And so that's we're pleased to be able to accomplish a lot of things to make travel safe and allow customers to feel confident that traveling with Amtrak is safe. And I appreciate you letting me share it with you.
Thank you, Larry, for that. I should have, in my introduction, let the folks know that when COVID struck in March and April, the company put together immediately a team of people to look at what the product should look like in the post-COVID world, and what sort of safety enhancements we should put in place for passengers. And Larry was, in addition to running the long-distance business line, Larry was put in charge of that team. And so much of the work you saw was the result of Larry and his team's good work. So it's a very appropriate representative of Amtrak to talk about that. Our next speaker.